Okay, I'm going to ask a couple of people to come up. Mayor Buddy Dyer, give a hand. Mayor, please come up. Commissioner Regina I. Hill, District 6, please come up. Steve Hogan, where's Steve? Steve, please come up. And Mr. Tim Ayers, please come up. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. What a day. Welcome to this beautiful park. This has been a long time coming. There's more to come as well, but all I can say is thank you to everybody who took part in this, and I have the great privilege and pleasure of introducing our Mayor, Buddy Dyer. Mayor Dyer.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everybody. It turns out the solar pavilion works in the rain just as well, maybe even better. In 1926, when the original design of this park was released, it was written that, quote, "When the project is finished, Orlando will boast one of the prettiest parks to be found anywhere in Florida." So nearly 100 years later, I think those words have never been more true as we look around at beautiful Lorna Doone Park. And I'm so grateful for all of our partners, especially Florida Citrus Sports and the public-private partnership that brought $9 million to this park renovation. Residents of the Westlake neighborhood, but people from all over our community can now enjoy the first inclusive playground in Orlando, city's first water spray park for cooling off on non-rainy days, not days like today, and that's thanks to the Wayne Dench Family Fun Zone. There's also renovated basketball courts thanks to the Orlando Magic, a putting experience and nature walk. Yeah, give them some love. Let's give Wayne Dench some love. Let's give the Magic some love. A putting experience and nature walk made possible by the Arnold and Winnie Palmer Foundation. Let's give them some love. The OUC Pavilion, which is keeping us dry today. Solar Pavilion. Fitness equipment, restrooms, a walkway, and another first, an art park from the College Football Foundation. And a beautiful fountain on the lake from Collage. So we have beautiful parks in Orlando, and we love to bring them to neighborhoods. We like to think that you can get to a park anywhere in Orlando within a 10-minute walk, and I think that's pretty much true except for maybe in the very southeast. But parks are coming their way as well. They're great places for children, and we have great amenities, and there's been nobody that has worked harder, been more proud of this park than Commissioner Regina Hill, and I want to thank her for her tireless efforts to make this a great place. Commissioner Hill.
Well, good morning, almost afternoon. Days like this, I almost want to pinch myself. You know, as Lisa stated and Mayor stated, what a great pavilion. But this is really what I believe Mayor Dyer and the leadership and community partners wanted. When you can be outdoors and enjoy a green space and being a Floridian and a naturalist, smelling the fresh air and rain and still remain dry. You know, I do have to, I want to acknowledge my colleague that's here. There's a few. Commissioner Bakari Burns, District 6, can you just say hello? And I saw my soul sister from another mother, Commissioner Patty Sheehan, and acknowledge city staff. But there's a few folks that this truly, as Mayor Dyer say, we work hard, but that has led this project, and I know Steve's going to talk and Tim's going to speak further about it, but we were talking about this even before I became a commissioner, almost 8 years ago now, and that is those that dwell right here around Lake Lorna Doone and the West Lakes community, and those are HOAs from the West Lakes community and their leadership and adamant persistence about recreating this park. Can you all stand up, those here in the West Lakes HOAs in the Lake Lorna Doone community? please. And I have to thank, of course, Live for Orlando and Florida Citrus Sports under the great leadership of Eddie Morton and Steve Hogan. And then Polis Institute that had a huge footprint in this in the beginning. As Mayor Dyer said, we couldn't have done this without public-private partnerships. But it was two people I can guarantee you we could not do this out of. He's a humble man, but it's Mayor Buddy Dyer and Byron Brooks at that time. We kept talking about it, and we were a few $1,000,000 short. And it went to Mayor Dyer, and he did not question it. I said, Mayor, the residents there say they want a jewel of the West Side that somewhat can be comparable to Lake Eola. And I said it's going to take a few million more dollars, Mayor. And he and Byron Brooks, that was the CAO at the time, came up with a strategy and worked it out with Steve and his team. And we now have a jewel of the West Side. But as we know, so thank you, Mayor. Because that money was not, it's not that simple. That money was not in our general fund. It had not been budgeted. So Mayor Dyer went deep down in the city coffers and pulled that up. But as I stated, this is one of the oldest parks, as Mayor Dyer said, here in the city of Orlando. And it was a popular park back then only for whites and the residents of the east side of Orlando, where blacks could not come here and swim. And I have to say that, and the reason I say that is that my last speech when we did the ribbon cutting, Black Orlando got on my hiney and said, you forgot a real important piece of history here on the west side of Orlando when we wasn't included. Where when we came and did a wade-in, that was many, many moons ago in the 60s, and we got in the waters, they closed down Lake Lorna Doone. They shut it down. They said they did not want blacks in the water, and they came, from what I understand, now this might be a myth, Mayor Dyer, but they said the waters was crystal blue. And once black people stepped their feet in the water, they came and put mud in the water. And that's why you see the waters are now dark, but they're flourishing now. And so we in order to move forward, we can't forget a bit of history. And it stayed closed for a few years into 1964. Though Lake Lorna Doone might had a spotted past, but we have a wonderful future starting today with this ribbon cutting. So again, I say thanks to our partners and our sponsors for recreating and changing the narrative of old and beginning a great story for future generations that we see in the audience today here at the Boys and Girls Club. You know, I'm just so happy that we're here to create these memories together. This is now the crowning jewel of the west side of Orlando. And no shade, Commissioner Sheehan, literally, but we have more amenities that's going to be here in this park than anywhere in any city park in Orlando. And I would dare say here in Central Florida. We have golfing, as the mayor said. We have fishing. We have basketball. We have a nature walk. We have exercise equipment for all ages because we have a senior complex across the street. And they have strategically put this park in a way to where it serves different age groups in different areas. So thank you all for being a part of recreating the narrative, helping to move this city forward, but most of all, helping to donate and now volunteer what we call the jewel of the West Side. And with that, I'll bring Lisa Early back up. That has been instrumental when it comes to social equity here in our recreation and parks, but also when we say keeping Orlando beautiful in parks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody. And before I invite Steve Hogan up, just a couple more things. Number one, I see Commissioner Stewart has arrived. Commissioner Stewart just got here. Yeah, welcome. And raise your hand, Letitia and Shaq. So this park is going to be fully staffed. We're replicating the staffing structure at Lake Eola Park right here at Lake Lorna Doone Park. Letitia is the park manager. Shaq is the recreation specialist. We have a whole team of staff here. We're going to have park rangers. Raise your hand if you're a park ranger. Anybody with the yellow shirts, raise your hand. Yeah. You got staff here at the park. If anybody in the neighborhood needs anything, wants anything, please feel at home. Our staff are here to help out. So on that note, Mr. Steve Haugen.
Thank you. We're doing something. So thank you. Thank you, Lisa, Mayor, Commissioner. This is awesome. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this. And the whole team, we've gotten to know Shaq and Letitia, part of our family in the stadium temporarily. So we're really looking forward to it with Rodney. And I just wanted to acknowledge the Boys and Girls Club kids that are here today, too. Get a little rained on. We're not able to putt yet, but raise your hands. Clarence Otis and Jackie Bradley, Boys and Girls Club down the street. We appreciate you guys taking a minute today. It feels like a really long time ago, Mayor, that right there on those steps, about midway up, we were cutting a ribbon for Camping World Stadium. And at that time, I think, Tangi, I saw you here, and the Hills and Smikle family. Raise your hand if you were on the design committee for this park ultimately. I know Commissioner Hill was as a resident at that time. Any of the residents of West Lakes? Look, we stood up that day, and I know there was a desire at that time to say we've got to have investment in Lake Lorna Doone Park. And that day, and I think maybe even out of order, I opened my mouth and said, hey, we're gonna donate the first $1 million to say, look, we challenged the community to do this thing. And so lo and behold, I didn't know it was going to take this long, and I apologize. But anything worth doing, right, is worth waiting for. So here we are. But I truly appreciate the invitation by the community at the time to us as an organization at Florida Citrus Sports to be involved in this. Truly, from the bottom of our heart, this has been very special, and this park is an amazing testament really to what is possible when you take a second to stop, listen, learn, have a conversation with each other. It's not always easy, but walk a mile maybe in some different shoes and really aspire to be caring, connected neighbors, as Dr. Lupton often says. And that creates what I think Mayor often talks about at this community, partnership. And partnership is what makes this community go. And this is a perfect example of what can happen when you're willing to listen, learn, and partner. So I appreciate that opportunity. Florida Citrus Sports this year, 75 years in the Florida Citrus Bowl business on New Year's Day, 1947, the first game. So we're proud of that. And I want to thank my president, Paul Mears III, who's here, Chairman Ken Robinson, if you'd raise your hand, our executive committee. I've got Ed Doherty's here, and Tony Massey also, president-elect and past president. So many FCS board and volunteers in the room, because each time that we've asked to say, we have a new idea about how we can invest, how we can positively impact the Central Florida community, the answer has always been yes. And this case is no different. All of the presidents, obviously, of the West Lakes Neighborhood Association communities, we have tough conversations, but you're amazing. All the residents that live here, amazing. And you have a partner for life in us. I just want to tell you that. We're all looking you in the eye and telling you that an organization that's been here for 75 years wants to be here for another 75. We're going to join you in these fights yet to come. Lift Orlando, an idea. Eddie Morton's in the back. Tom Sidema, a past president of FCS, chairman of Lift Orlando, and so many others. Amazing idea that started with Can-A Stadium that was being renovated at the time in a set of neighborhoods that I think we all wanted to say need some more investment. And I know the commissioner challenges us on that all the time, and the mayor alike, and all of the leaders in our community. But at the end of the day, could it become a beating heart and literally at a vascular level connect with the residents? And let's realize a dream together. Well, that's what Lift Orlando is meant to be. Not always perfect, but I think the results that we're having are amazing for this community and long overdue. I want to thank the West Lakes Partnership for sure. And again, the city, as I've already mentioned, we've had a blast working, and Denise doesn't get enough credit. I know she's probably gotten more grief from me personally than anybody else, but I want to thank you, Lisa, Denise, and Rodney, and the whole Parks team. Also here in the room, Dan Kirby. I don't know if Dan's here today, but Dan, just a local volunteer, a Florida Citrus Sports board member, originally partnered with the design committee from the neighborhood and did the first draft of what is today's Lake Lorna Doone Park. So Dan and all of that volunteerism donation, we truly appreciate it. His beautiful wife, Allison, is a great principal at Jones High School, as many of you may know. So I want to acknowledge him. GAI from there, an amazing design team. Frank Bellamos here. Collage Construction, Steve Pignot, Brian Walsh, Rob Mathis are all here. And then SC Advisors, Brent Dahlback, Jay Berlinski. So thank you all as part of the design and construction team. Again, I'll be hopefully quick on this, but I do think it's important to acknowledge the partnerships, as I've said, because partnerships are what allow these things to be totally realized. And the NFL, as you know, in the NFL Play 60 field behind us, the very first year we had the Pro Bowl, we all sat there and said, hey guys, we got an investment for you. I think you're going to like it. And it's Lake Lorna Doone Park. We didn't have yet the budget yet figured out or anything else, but the NFL said, yes, first year of that Pro Bowl. And that's the power, right? As people come through our stadium and they attend events here, we got to give them the story. Ask them why they want to invest. Believe in the story of West Lakes. NFL is a perfect example of somebody saying, I'm in. NFL Play 60 Field was born first. The college football playoff, think about this. We are not a playoff site yet, right? National championship site yet, but they said what you all are doing as a community leads the nation. So we're going to invest with you in this way that no other bowl game, 40 of them in the nation in the postseason, that Orlando has. So the college football playoff community arts garden will be an amazing destination, I think, for folks around the world and here locally to enjoy art and engage against art of all forms. So we thank them for that. Collage, again, I mentioned your names, but the beautiful lake fountain, we appreciate it. And thank you so much. I believe it's on right now. But it's going to light up and enjoy so many other celebrations as the years go by. State of Florida, Lisa, I know, deserves thanks for the grant that the city allowed them to write for us to invest in the accessible playground. So thank you so much to the state of Florida. OUC, Clint Bullock, I know, is here. I saw you, Clint, over there a second. There he is. I saw you over there a second ago, but, you know, OUC, the reliable one, and this solar pavilion is cool, right? We got charging stations. It's powering so many of the assets you see on this end of the park. Thank you for keeping us dry today. But we can look off to this beautiful Bermuda field and not too long into the future and probably see our amazing choir from Jones High School performing here with people sitting out on all kinds of lawn chairs and enjoying a great night in Lake Lorna Doone Park. And so many of those are come because of your investment. So thank you for always being there, Clint, at OUC. Wayne Dent's Charities, Len Williams, the Williams family. I don't know what you could say. Cran Riley's here representing them today. Cran, I don't know if there's a project that involves children and families in this town that Wayne Dent hasn't invested in, but I just want to say on behalf of all of us, thank you for committing to this. The Family Fun Zone on the west side of the park is their innovation, so we appreciate that. Soon, and I think it bears mentioning, you see the sculptor pad over here. In a not too distant future, I know the commissioner will work closely with Ted Haddock and the Haddock Family Foundation, City of Orlando, and Florida Citrus Sports as we'll unveil the Barrier Breakers monument statue there that's commemorating the first integrated Little League baseball game to be played in the South. Happened right here, as you know, when we had baseball diamonds, Pensacola and the City of Orlando. Amazing tribute. But a little side note on that, kind of bittersweet, but I think we're so proud that the legacy is going to live on. Many of you may know that Morgan State, historically black college and university, played in the Tangerine Bowl in 1966. And Judge Perry would tell you that, I believe he was in band at that point, played in the halftime show as part of Jones High School. But that aside, I would tell you that that moment is still today the only bowl game in America, NCAA certified bowl game, that is hosted in HBCU school, and that barrier was broken here as well. One of the players, in addition to Willie Lanier and many others on that team, was a guy named George Knock. George Knock played many years in the NFL, but George was an artist, sculptor, done many sculptures throughout the country and around the world. We convinced George, as a part of that reunion team that came in 2016, to do these two statues. So he and his beautiful wife, Mary, brought them down a number of months ago, and they're awaiting that ceremony. But unfortunately, we lost George to COVID this year. So, but what I would tell you, Mary is amazingly proud, and his whole family and all of his teammates, that this story, the Westlake story, the West Side story, Lake Lorna Doone Park story, and this statue and art in particular will live on for generations. And George will forever be associated with that. So I'm amazingly proud of that, and I hope you are too. In closing, I wanted to mention really two more things. Linda, I know I thanked you personally and privately, but the Magic and the DeVos family, there's a lot of pro teams that you can work with in America, and I would tell you that the one that we have right here sets the bar. When you pick up the telephone and you call and you try and do things that are going to impact people in the community that need it, you know, Linda and everybody else involved in the foundation over at the Orlando Magic, the answer is always yes. So thank you. We appreciate you more than you could possibly know. And then lastly, the Arnold Winnie Palmer Foundation. Joey Chitwood is here today with many other residents or parts of their staff there. Joey, where are you at? I saw you. There he is in the back. You guys may remember Joey Chitwood, who was at the International Speedway Corporation, but Roy and Amy Saunders and the whole Palmer family and the foundation convinced him to come over and run the Arnold Palmer Invitational Tournament. He and Brandon Johnson, if Brandon's here, is on the design team, actually designed the course here. But, you know, as we close with this last donor, I just would tell you, you know, it just testament. You know, the Palmer family has always believed in children and families. Look at both my kids were born in Winnie Palmer Hospital, I'm proud to say. But those investments span our community, span the decades here. In the midst of construction, going through this pandemic, the very first call when Commissioner led, along with the West Lakes community, food insecurity support, thousands of families, literally. One of the first calls we got was Arnold Winnie Palmer Foundation said, "What do you need? This is our family in the West Lakes neighborhood now." Wrote a check immediately to Second Harvest Food Bank and said, whatever the commissioner's doing and whatever West Lakes is doing, we're in. So, I mean, it's just, you deserve appreciation. I know you don't want that, but we appreciate that, yeah. So, the two features that we're proud of in closing on this front would be the Winnie Palmer Nature Walk, which is basically a learning laboratory on your journey around the lake. There will be educational signage that you can engage with. There's a curriculum that lines up with pre-K environment, but it's really designed for all to enjoy and to learn from. Is an amazing story. I think there's some backpacks here on display today that are going to be deployed in partnership, ultimately could be checked out for classes when they come here in the future to learn around the lab, and that backpack will have all kinds of assets that kids can use to engage against naturalism in Lake Lorna Doone Park. It's an amazing idea that was really a product of the nature preserve in Latrobe that Winnie's so fond of. But we are so proud that forevermore kids and families are going to be able to engage in their journey of exercise around the lake and have it be educational in every respect. To take that a step further, and PNC Bank deserves a lot of credit as your partner on this, I know. And is PNC here represented today? I didn't see yet, but anyway, deserves a lot of credit. Together, us and the Winnie Palmer Foundation are going to fund and grant and hire a full-time naturalist position that will work with the park staff, will work with all of the neighborhood area pre-K schools, and we'll take that learning opportunity into the school. So we're very proud of that. And then lastly, but not least, if you have Winnie Palmer, this has to be the one place in the world that you've got Arnold Palmer, right? So as we're under construction, we said, what if you actually had a 9-hole putting course here in Lake Lorna Doone Park? So lo and behold, we have the back 9 of the famous Bay Hill Golf Course that you'll recognize when you play each hole. And this isn't windmills and clown's mouth. This is actual golf holes. So kids, without the barrier of needing to own a set of clubs, are going to be exposed to the gift of learning the game of golf. So Arnold Palmer and the Arnold Winnie Palmer Foundation, thank you. And thank you to all of you as we celebrate today the jewel of the West Side. So from the West Lakes Partnership, Tim Ayers.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Hill, this is one of the reasons I don't like to follow Steve Hogan. He gets all the good stuff to announce, and here I am. I'm going to finish up simply by saying guests, friends, and contributors. So if you're covered in those 3 categories, I want to thank you on behalf of the residents of the West Lakes communities and the surrounding neighborhoods for all the good work you do. I have to say something about Commissioner Hill, Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Burns, I'm going to move into District 6 and work because no one holds me more accountable than my friend Commissioner Hill in District 5. And she has some of the best constituents in the city of Orlando. And I just want to take a moment to recognize them and then also to mention a person who's on the stage. If you are a member of my board, whether past or current, if you're a resident of the West Lakes community or any of the surrounding neighborhoods, would you please stand? Would you please stand? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all your efforts. We are just extremely pleased, I want to say to Lisa and her team and the park rangers, if there's anything you need from West Lakes Partnership, in terms of volunteers here at the park, please let us know. There's a lady to my right who was instrumental in the original committee. It was long before I served in my capacity as executive director of the partnership, for all the work she has done in terms of giving inspiration to the exclusivity of the park equipment, and that's Tangi Smikle and her sister Carmen, who's in the audience. So let's give them a hand. And so I thank you, and I promise, hopefully, if we have a future event, never to follow Steve again, but he's such a wonderful partner that I have no choice. So I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, so much. We're going to do a little step and repeat photo taking. We have a big scissor over there, but before we get to that, one more group that Commissioner Hill wants to give a shout out to, and that's Collage, who exceeded who exceeded their minority participation and hired a lot of people from the neighborhood to do this work. Thank you for that. Thank you for your commitment. Commissioner Hill talked about the past. Now it's time to create the future, a better future than where we came from, so we can pass the torch to the next generation, our children and our grandchildren, and be proud that we made this community a better place. So on that note, we're going to bring this big ribbon out, and there's a big scissor here, and I'm going to ask our donors to come up. Those neighborhood residents who participated in making this happen, who just stood up a few minutes ago, please come up. We're going to have a large group up front with this ribbon, cutting the ribbon. And then afterwards, each of the donors and the community members are going to have an opportunity to take their own individual photos with our community leader, our key leaders, Mayor Dyer, Commissioner Hill. So please, donors and neighborhood residents who participate in this plan, come up. We're going to cut the ribbon. And okay, all those kids in the green shirts over there, come on up.